Hey, welcome back to the Ethereal Kia YouTube channel. Today's topic that I want to talk about is accountability. Man, this goes deep for me because I think that a lot of people in general struggle with taking full accountability for everything that goes on in their life. Some people feel like things are unfair and things are out of their control and it's not their fault. And all of those things might be true. However, nothing happens to you without you being a part of it. So you have to always analyze and think about what role you played. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be like you directly hurt yourself, but maybe you put yourself in position to be hurt by someone else. Um, and that's part of accountability. It's just like taking your part, the part of, like, you have to own your part, your ownership. Nothing happens to you just because. Nothing happens in a vacuum. So before something happens in your life, think about everything that led up to that. And if you do that, then you can see where you played a role in that, and you helped that come into fruition by whatever act, big or small, that you contributed to get that result. And accountability is like something that people just dodge so much these days. And it's like, people want to hold other people accountable and be like, oh, I'm holding this person accountable and I'm holding that group accountable and we need to hold other people accountable. No, accountability doesn't work like that. You don't hold other people accountable. The only entity that does that really is the court system. And even then, when courts try to hold people accountable, sometimes they still don't comply. So in that case, that person is choosing not to, be accountable for whatever. So the whole concept that you can hold somebody else accountable, I don't really agree with that. I don't think that it's like out of your control. You literally cannot control anybody else ever. You can't. People exist in their own way. Everybody has their own life. Everybody has their own perception. Everybody has their own, moral guidelines. Everybody has their own thing that they're out here trying to do. And it's not always cohesive with what you are trying to do. So the concept of holding somebody else accountable as if you can make somebody else responsible for themselves, that doesn't really, it just doesn't make all that much sense to me, because the only person you can control is yourself. So you can only be responsible for yourself, and you can only control your actions. You can't control what other people do. So how could you possibly hold other people accountable? You can bring to attention that, there are things maybe that they need to look at or consider, but that's not you holding them accountable. That's you suggesting that they hold themselves accountable. And I think that accountability these days is just like so far gone, because on one hand, people want all the freedom, people want all the liberation, people want all the power to do whatever they want. Nobody wants to be boxed in. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants to abide by rules that they don't believe in. And that's great. But every action has a consequence. Every choice you make, every decision you make, everything you do has a consequence. So if you can own all of your actions, all of your decisions, then you need to also own everything that comes as a result of those actions and decisions. Here's an example. I'll use sexual liberation, since that's a hot topic. A lot of women, don't want to be confined into a certain role or a certain idea of how they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to behave, how they're supposed to act, dress, what they're supposed to wear, what they're supposed to do, So it's like, okay, I'm a woman. I can do whatever I want. I can wear this skimpy outfit and go to a club, and that's just that. Nobody can tell me what to do. And that's accurate. Nobody can tell you what to do. That's a choice that you choose to make. Now, when you are approached a certain way because of the choice that you have made and the image that you have chosen to present to the world, people are going to react how they want to. You don't control how other people react. So when you put on your skimpy outfit and walk down the street and think that nobody's supposed to, say anything to you or do, nobody is supposed to do anything to you. That's a violation. But if you think that people are supposed to, totally embrace you after you have decided to go against the rules or, you know, the loose rules that society has in place about what's acceptable, that is a contradiction. If you're going to own what you do and what you want to be, how you want to act, what you want to wear, you have to own all of it. And you have to accept that not everybody is going to embrace it. Not everybody is going to welcome it with open arms. Some people are going to react different ways. You can't control that. But that's part of the decision you made. So you have to own that, you know? So it's like everybody has, you know, everybody wants the liberation and the power right up until the point of responsibility. And then it becomes, well, you shouldn't be like this, and you shouldn't be like that, and you shouldn't act like this. You shouldn't respond to me this way. You shouldn't blah blah blah. And it's like, no, you don't get to do that. If people don't tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, then you don't tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing. And you definitely don't get to tell them how they should and shouldn't react to what you choose to do, because you chose that. So now it's like, okay, it is what it is. Own it. Own all of it. You know, somebody said that on Twitter, it was a tweet that said, men can cause vaginal odor and bacteria. And I I thought that was funny, because I think it was real clever how they skipped over the sex part. You know, it's not like you can walk into a room of men and all of a sudden you have vaginal odor and bacteria. No. For that to happen, for a man to affect your vagina in any way, he would have to be in your vagina in the first place. And that is on you. You know, crime aside, we're not talking about, you know, sexual assault and all that. We're talking about consensual sex. When people agree to engage in that type of activity with each other, the consequences fall on both parties, not just one. So when you say men can cause such and such in a vagina, no, they cannot. Sex can cause that. And that takes two people, not just one. A man doesn't just show up in your vagina with bacteria. That's not how that works. You know, and that's part of the accountability that I'm talking about. It's real clever how people try to dance around it and point fingers. You can't point fingers when you're owning your life and yourself and your actions and your responsibilities and your decisions. You do that. That is on you, you know? And it's like, it gets a little frustrating to me when I see that, you know, so many people, you know, it's hypocritical, because it's like, on one hand, you know, we want power, we want liberation, we want the freedom to be and do and say what we want. But when the consequences from those things come around, then it's somebody else's fault. Then it's a matter of who should and who shouldn't, and you should and you shouldn't, and that's not how that's supposed to be. Like the whole concept of men shouldn't rape. Obviously, like that, I don't think that needs to be said. Like that's obvious that, you know, men shouldn't rape. People shouldn't steal. You know, people shouldn't kill. Those are like basic, like human, like laws, like, you know, of good and evil. You can't stop people from being who they are. So does that mean that you go leave all your car doors unlocked because people shouldn't steal? Does that mean you leave your house with your doors wide open because people shouldn't rob? Does that mean, you know, you have no defense for yourself because people shouldn't attack you? That's placing a lot of responsibility on other people to guarantee your safety. And if that's the case, then you're not in control and you don't have power, because your life is at the whim of other people and their good graces. Like, you're only in the position you're in because other people allow you to exist in that space. And that's not a powerful position to be in. You know, as opposed to going, well, I know there are bad people out there, so I'm going to watch myself this way. I'm going to have my own back. I am going to carry a weapon. I am going to lock my own car doors. I am going to lock my house up when I leave. You know, I am going to make sure I'm not placing myself in certain situations where it could go left if I'm not around the right type of people. You got to own that. You got to own all of it. And being picky and choosy about which parts you know, you want to be responsible for, like, oh, we want the power, but we don't want the responsibility. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a package. It's a package deal. With power comes responsibility. And everybody seems to understand that up until it's time to be responsible. It's just crazy. So that's what today's video is about. Accountability, man. Like, You only have control over yourself. You cannot make other people bend to what you want or how you feel like they should be. It's not realistic and it's not going to happen. What can happen though is that you stand your ground in who you are and you accept what comes with it. Not, I feel this way and other people should accept it. They don't have to. You have to accept it, and you have to be prepared to know that other people might not accept it. For real, if you're really that solid and you really believe in what you're standing on, what other people say and do and think won't matter at all. Because you will have decided that for yourself. This is what I'm standing on, and I'll take all the smoke. So take all the smoke. Don't be like, oh, this is what I'm standing on, except if you do this, then it's your fault. No, 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 no. It's got to be the same energy all the way around. So accountability, man, we really need to speak more on that and have a lot more of it going around, because it places people in a perpetual state of victimhood when they are not accountable for themselves. That means that stuff is always happening to you. That means that your life is not in your control and is solely dependent on how other people treat you. Who wants to live like that? I mean, I don't. Maybe some people do. I don't. And it's like, no, everything is not your fault. Everything is not your fault. Let me be clear again. Everything is not your fault. However, it is your responsibility to deal with it and to get through it in the best way that you know how to, so that you can be okay. Nobody else is required to make you feel good about yourself. Nobody else is required to make you feel accepted. Nobody else is required to make you feel embraced for the lifestyle that you choose to live. You have to live your life knowing that there's a chance that you might not be embraced. No matter which lifestyle you choose, no matter which path you go, there's going to be people who are with you and people who are against you. It doesn't matter what you choose. That's always going to be the case. You have to know that in your heart, you're doing what's best for you. It's not about them. It's not about other people. It's not about what's acceptable. It's not about what's looked down upon. It's not about any of that. It doesn't matter when you're living your life for yourself and taking accountability for yourself and responsibility for your actions and your decisions. Sometimes you might mess up. It happens. Sometimes you might end up in a relationship with somebody who didn't have your best interest at heart. Or let's say, I'll use this as an example. A lot of people say how do you know people are liars? So how do you know, if you're being set up or how do you know? How do you know? The thing is, you never know. That's why you have to use your discernment, and let that guide you. And even then, sometimes you might mess up. It is okay. Life goes on. Sometimes you end up in a relationship with somebody who is not a good person or not a good person for you, or they presented themselves one way and they ended up being a different way. You can't help that. People are who they are. You can't hold them accountable for that. But what you can do is go, what about me attracted that person to me in the first place? What about me allowed that deception to go on for so long to the point where I got caught up in it and didn't even see it? Was I, ignoring certain signs? Was I, how did I play a role in that? Did I miss something? Did I choose wrong? Did I ignore something? Did I totally miscalculate something? Did I get the wrong impression? It happens. It's happened to everybody. It's not that big of a deal. But when you own it, you become in control of that narrative. Instead of this person did this to me, it becomes I messed up. I chose the wrong person. And this is what I learned from it. This is what happened. These are the consequences. These are the lessons I learned. Now I can move on. As opposed to this person did this to me. And then, and what does that say about you? Nothing. It just makes you a victim. And then it gives room for the next person to come along and do something similar or something different. Because your life becomes about people doing stuff to you as opposed to you making your decisions and following through and owning whatever happens and whatever comes out of it. Accountability is like the most power you can have, because no matter what happens, it all comes back on you. And it's like, no, nobody forced me into that. Nobody did that to me. They might have, messed with the perception or pulled some strings or been manipulative. That's fine. People are that way. I mean, something about you was similar enough to them to where y'all came together and that was allowed to happen. So that's the part that you have to be accountable for. It's not saying that, everything is my fault or you deserve everything that happens to you, but you do play a role in everything that happens to you. Nothing happens in your life without your consent. Of course, aside from rape, sexual assault, crime, like that type of thing. Obviously, I'm not talking about that. Again, I'm talking about consensual acts between people who know exactly what they're doing. When you choose to involve yourself in somebody, you can't expect that they have the same intentions that you do. You would hope so, obviously, but there's no way you can ever really, really tell. Unless over time and that becomes clear. But you have to be prepared and you have to always be defensive in protecting yourself. And you have to own whatever decisions you choose to make. You are an adult. Nobody forced you to do anything. Nobody forces your hand. You might think because the circumstances are what they are that you have no other choice. That is never the case. There is always other choices. There is always other options. That's not to say that every choice or every option or every set of choices and options is going to have a positive benefit. Sometimes all of the choices have a bad outcome. That's just what it is. And you just got to pick one anyway. But if you can own it, then you can accept that. You can learn what you need to learn from it, move on, add that to your pile of stuff that makes you who you are, and become better. That's it. But when you place all of that fault outside of yourself, then you have no reason to ever grow or be better or do better or anything because you're just existing and everybody's doing everything to you. That is like such a corny, passive way to live. And I mean, if you want to, okay. But again, be accountable for that. Okay? So that's my little spiel today, accountability. And I'll be back some other time with another video.